Napoleon, Nelson, Wellington, also a trio, but not a coalition. Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus once divided Rome. These three, they divided an entire continent. No oath, no handshake, no mercy. Horatio Nelson, the last true English gentleman, bearing a noble heart and loyalty across the seas. Napoleon Bonaparte, a genius from Corsica, burning to destroy the old and forge a new order with sword and civil code. Arthur Wellesley, the cold-blooded face of a young Briton, ready to disobey orders for the sake of victory in Spain. Three men, three dimensions of history. A clash not between armies, but between identities. But to understand why these men could never shake hands, we must go further back, into a rivalry as old as Europe itself. France and England, neighboring nations, opposing souls. From the 100 Years' War, where knights gave way to longbows, to the 30 Years' War, where religion split the continent, to the 7 Years' War, called the First World War, fought across 5 continents. Whether under kings, generals, or revolutions, these two nations never ceased to collide. One represents the continent, deep, sharp, ever-evolving. The other, an island, proud, defiant, and never easily conquered. And by the end of the 18th century, this rivalry entered its most blazing chapter, when a man named Napoleon stepped onto the stage. Horatio Nelson, the last true Englishman before Napoleon. Britain didn't send an army, it sent a man. His name was Horatio Nelson. Born on an island nation, Nelson carried within him an unshakable faith in duty and honor. He didn't conquer lands, he defended oceans, the thinnest borders between Britain and the world. In an age of rising empires, he was an old-school gentleman, proud, humble, and fiercely loyal. One blind eye, one missing arm, but he never turned his back on battle. At Aboukir Bay in 1798, the Battle of the Nile, Nelson crushed the French fleet in Egypt, shattering Napoleon's dreams of reaching Asia. And then came Trafalgar, 1805, the greatest naval battle of the modern era. Nelson didn't just defeat the French-Spanish fleet, he ended Napoleon's dream of crossing the sea forever. He fell in glory with his last words, "Thank God I have done my duty," as if his whole life had been a flag flying against the wind, never willing to be lowered. Napoleon, the genius of war and law. If Nelson was the ocean, then Napoleon was the storm. He did not rise from nobility or royalty, but from the rugged island of Corsica, where Italy and France meet. He was the child of revolution, yet bore the soul of an emperor. While Europe still trembled in the smoke of 1789, Napoleon stepped forth from the crowd like a figure from an epic. Each battle was a chess match, each campaign a manifesto. He defeated Austria, crushed Prussia, and only stopped before the waves of Britain. But Napoleon did not live by the sword alone. While the continent was drowning in war, he wrote the civil code, the Code Napoleon. For the first time, men stood equal before the law. No more kings, no more bloodlines, only reason and order. One hand redrawing the map, the other drafting justice. A conqueror, but also a builder of the Enlightenment in the dawning 19th century. He once said, "My victories will be forgotten, but the civil code will endure." And he was right. Wellington, the cold will, the quiet face, the final strike. When Nelson had already fallen and Napoleon was still storming across Europe's map, another man was quietly advancing. Arthur Wellesley. Not as glorious as Nelson, not as magnetic as Napoleon. He was like a cold stone in a burning age, quiet, precise, and unyielding. During the Peninsular War, he ignored cautious orders from the British government. He didn't wait. He attacked and turned Spain into a graveyard for Napoleon's ambitions. No need for speeches. He won with calculation, discipline, and unshakable silence. Then at Waterloo in 1815, he said just one sentence. Napoleon came out as a genius and ended as a gambler. Wellington didn't seek the spotlight. History shone upon him anyway. The youngest of the three, yet the one who placed the final period on the age they had written. A meeting in the mist, 3 ideals, 3 visions of glory. In a space beyond time and maps, the 3 men meet once more. No more ranks, no more cannons, only 3 bare souls adrift in the mist of posterity. Nelson, in his splendid uniform, still calm and composed. He speaks soft as sea breeze. "I lived to protect. I believed in duty, in honor, in an order that cannot be bought with blood but must be kept with loyalty. Freedom needs no speeches, just one man willing to die for it." Napoleon, his eyes still blazing, his voice no longer proud but pensive. "I fought not merely to conquer, but to rebuild a fairer world." Man was not born to obey forever. Laws must come from reason, not from blood. I do not regret setting the continent ablaze, as long as from its ashes, people learn how to build anew. Wellington, silent for a while, then speaks quietly. I never chased glory. I simply couldn't let mistakes become law. Not everyone is born to create an era. Some are chosen to end it. Sometimes, victory is knowing when to stop. They look at each other. No nods, no arguments. For in the end, history takes no sides. It only remembers those who lived as if they were writing it. Please like, comment, and share if you like. Thank you so much.